Well, good morning YouTube, and welcome back to Retired for Life. So we're going to take a brief break from the storage building in order to get the sawmill up and running. I want to give Chris a little more experience running the sawmill and teach him how to drive the little tractor as well while he's here. Now the first job I'm going to be doing is cutting curbs for the end of the driveway. I've got railroad ties in there right now and they are very, very rotten. So I'm going to pull them out and replace them. So what I did to protect the carburetor here through the winter was I removed this plug under here. See if I can show this to you. I had to cut a little bit of the cover away here, but that right there is the drain plug. So I took that after turning the gas off. I took that plug out and drained the carburetor, because I didn't want gas sitting in there all the way through the winter. Even though I treat the gas that I put in it, it's still I don't think that good for it to leave gas in there for that long. Let's turn the gas on for the first time here and see what it's like to start this. The other thing I did was I filled the gas can or the gas tank right to the top, so there's no room for condensation to build up in there. There we go. Okay, gas is on, choke is on. Let's see what it's like to start. That's not too bad. All right, we're good to go. Yep. All right, guys, so we're getting ready here to put our first log of the season up. So as you've seen, we've got everything cleaned up. We've got it level. The only thing I've got left to do is put tension on the blade, and then we'll get the motor started up again, and we know everything's running fine. So the sawmill I'm using, just as a reminder, if you haven't seen my earlier videos from last year about the sawmill, it's a Woodland Mills HM122. It's basically the smallest mill they make. I would call it a hobbyist mill. I can cut 8-foot logs on it easily. They say you can cut 10 foot, but certainly not much more. And to me, 10 foot is kind of a useless size, and it's just a lot more difficult to deal with. So I leave all my logs at about 8'4". So if I want, I can trim them off to 8 feet square on the ends. But for my purposes, for what I'm doing, like cutting the board and batten and that type of thing, this sawmill has been great. There's nothing automatic about it. You're pushing everything, you're cranking it up and down and that type of thing, but it is a small sawmill, so it does that job very, very nicely. So let's get our first log up here, get this thing going, and see if we can make a decent cant out of this. It's a heavy log. Dealing with pine, good idea to be wearing gloves. They can get pretty gummy. That is one crooked piece of junk. I always keep a few wedges on this side of the mill, especially when you're starting off with something that looks like this thing. Okay, we'll see if we can get our clamp on it here and get our first cut. What a gnarly piece of junk. in here, Chris. Watch that doesn't... There we go. All right, let's see how close to square we're sitting. So I always keep a square out here with me because I like to make sure everything I'm cutting is coming out square. It always is so much easier to work from square. So take the time to get that set up right in the first place. Cant number one. So we're back out here on another blistering hot day. Very high humidity. So I'm trying to protect myself from the sun, of course, which is why I'm so covered up. And also trying to stay cool. And the two don't go hand in hand very well. But anyway, we've got our next log up here for curbs. So we're going to continue on that. One of the things I like to do with this little mill, I need to give it every advantage I can get for it, is that I always set up logs so the small end is towards the power head. So I'm cutting towards the big end. Now, the reason I do that is because to me it seems to make sense. So you've got your branches, which of course create knots. The way this log is sitting here, everything is angling out this way. Now, if I was to turn it around and had the big end towards the power head, as you're going along, your branches or knots are kind of going off on an angle like this. And to my way of thinking, you're going to have more of a chance of deflecting your blade up as you go over those knots, rather than catching into the knot and not deflecting it as much type of thing. So whether that is 100% valid or not, I couldn't tell you. It seems to work for me. I'm satisfied with it. And like I say, little machine, have to give it every advantage I can possibly give it. Now, if you want to see something big, you want to have a look at Samuel's site. I'll put a link up in the description for this. Samuel's site is called Tennessee Frontier. And one of the videos I was watching, he has a slabbing mill. And holy mackerel, can that cut some big material. It is amazing. I'll put a link to that particular video on his site down in the description. Have a look at that. It really is amazing. The size of log that he can get on that machine. And he's cutting poplar. I think he called it tulip poplar. I've never seen a poplar tree that size. It's just incredible. And it's pretty beautiful wood coming off of it. Anyway, let's get this thing fastened down and we'll get another one of these cut and continue on through our curbing work. So I brought a few of our curbs down off the hill, dropped them in the driveway here, and Chris is going to get his chance at learning how to drive a tractor here. So we're going to do a little bit of putting back and forth and around before we come back and pick these curbs up and take them over and get them stacked and ready for oiling. So the tractor very easily handles these two at a time, but Chris is just learning, so he's going to do them one at a time. very tight. Well, Chris did a pretty good job with the tractor. I was very pleased with that, and he was pretty happy with the experience. Only came close once to the storage dome here, and he started piling up the logs and getting the idea of how the little tractor moves around. It's a great machine to learn on. It's quite small, but it still gives you the feel of what a tractor is like, especially something with a front end loader on it, because you've got so much more out in front of you when there's a loader on a tractor. And when you've got something really wide, like one of my curbs here, you've got to be extra careful. So he did a great job. And of course, as you saw from the last video, he is no longer here. So I'm back to working on my own. So that's going to be it for today's video, guys. Thanks very much for watching. And as always, if you've been finding these videos interesting, or at the very least entertaining, I'd love to have you like the video, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on other content coming up. So thanks very much for watching, guys, and we'll see you out on the trails the next time.